Let's take a deep breath and drift back in time. You open your eyes. It's dawn, but not the kind of romantic, golden sunrise you've seen in movies. It's gray. It's damp. And everything smells faintly like manure, smoke, and unwashed humanity. You're lying on a sack of straw. It's not a bed. It's a flattened sack stuffed with things that rustle. Probably hay, possibly bugs. Your back hurts. There's no pillow, just a bundle of old cloth. Welcome to your medieval morning. You look around. The room is dim. No windows, just a hole in the wall. A chicken is walking across the floor. You didn't own a chicken yesterday. The floor is dirt. Not dirty, actual dirt. Packed mud, with a suspiciously moist corner. You sit up. Your head throbs. Probably from the air. Smoke from the fire pit in the middle of the room has no chimney to go through. It lingers in your lungs like a bad decision. You need to use the bathroom. But there is no bathroom. Just a wooden bucket. You consider walking outside, but it's February, and you have no shoes. Breakfast awaits. It's a piece of yesterday's bread. It's rock hard. You try to bite it and lose a filling, or would, if dentistry existed. Beside it is a turnip. Raw, cold, unwashed, and some ale. Because water? Water is suspicious. It comes from a stream where people wash clothes, dispose of waste, and possibly dump corpses. You drink the ale. It's warm and sour. You venture outside. The street is mud. It's always mud. Even in summer. You hear shouting. The town crier is announcing that someone was caught stealing a loaf of bread and will be placed in the stocks for 3 days. Everyone seems excited. Entertainment is rare. You wander toward the market. On your way, you pass a man with boils on his neck. He sneezes in your direction. You remember the word plague and try not to panic. But really, it could be anything. Typhus, dysentery, leprosy, or just a common cold that could still kill you in a week. At the market, you see a table selling rats for food. A rat on a stick costs less than a hunk of bacon. Someone's arguing about whether they saw a comet, a bad omen. Another man is warning about witches. He says his neighbor's cow stopped producing milk, and it must be sorcery. You try to explain that this might be due to poor diet or disease. They don't understand. They think you're a scholar. Dangerous. Possibly a heretic. You are chased. By the time you hide, you've lost a shoe, stepped in something unspeakable, and you're fairly certain your last meal is trying to escape your stomach. It's noon. You've been awake for 5 hours. You already want to go home. But there's no electricity. No phone. No Google Maps. Just a man selling maps that show dragons and the edge of the world. Someone accuses you of looking too clean, too foreign, too educated. You try to explain, but it doesn't matter. You're brought before a magistrate who is illiterate, bored, and looking to make an example of someone. By evening, you've been pelted with rotten cabbage, mocked by children, and almost pressed into military service. You escape narrowly into the woods, where you find a small cottage and beg for shelter. The woman inside lets you stay, but only if you help churn butter. You don't know how. You sleep on a pile of hay in the corner, next to a goat. It smells like a goat. The floor is cold. Your head itches. You have fleas. The goat sneezes on you. You close your eyes. Somewhere nearby, a wolf howls. A priest chants. A child cries. And someone is probably being burned for having too many cats. You think, it's only been one day. You won't make it to day 2. Good night. You wake up the next morning, if you can call it that. You barely slept. The goat stepped on your face at least twice, and someone outside was wailing like a ghost. You hope it was a ghost. That would be less concerning than a real person screaming in the dark. You sit up. Your back is worse. There's a bite mark on your arm. Fleas? Rats? The goat? You're too tired to investigate. You're starving. You ask for food, but the woman who took you in mutters something about needing to trade for eggs. She hands you a stale onion and some warm milk. You drink it. It's chunky. As you step outside, a chill wind blows through your thin tunic. Your breath is visible in the air, and your teeth start chattering. It's May, allegedly. The sun is a weak blur behind clouds thick with smoke and despair. You wander to the town square again. Big mistake. There's a gathering. People are excited. A man is about to be punished. The crime? He used a spoon made of iron instead of wood. Someone accused him of summoning dark forces. You try to explain that materials don't carry spiritual energy. Someone nearby whispers, "He speaks like a wizard." You're starting to realize you should stop talking. A priest starts a sermon about sin and fire and pestilence. The crowd listens. You try to slip away, but it's too late. You're roped into helping with something called pottage stirring, a local stew that smells like wet wool and regret. You stir for 2 hours. Your arms ache. A child sneezes into the pot. In the afternoon, you're conscripted again, this time to help dig a latrine pit. You're handed a wooden shovel. The dirt is more rock than soil. Your hands blister. You think of modern plumbing and nearly cry. Then come the musicians. They're not good. One has an instrument that looks like a broken lute. Another just bangs a stick on a barrel. It's the local festival, a celebration of mud or harvest. No one's sure anymore. You're forced to dance. It's not optional. You pretend you have a limp. A man offers you something to drink. It smells like vinegar and lamp oil. You drink it anyway. By sunset, the town smells worse. Fires are lit. Someone is shouting about omens. A red moon rises. The goats are restless. You overhear someone planning a crusade. They're looking for volunteers. You are not a volunteer. You find shelter in a ruined shed. It has no door. The roof leaks. A spider the size of a walnut is your roommate. You fall asleep to the sound of someone nearby reciting prayers in Latin and a pig chewing something outside your head. You've made it to day 2. You won't survive day 3. You wake up soaked. It rained during the night, and the shed's roof is more metaphor than structure. Your tunic is wet, your feet are cold, and something crawled into your sleeve while you slept. You shake it out. It's probably harmless. You hope. You're hungry. Truly hungry now. Your stomach growls like a beast. You nibble the last of the turnip you stole yesterday. It's soft. Not the good kind of soft. You chew slowly, praying it stays down. Out in the town square, people are gathered again. This time for something festive, the arrival of a traveling noble. You think maybe, just maybe, it's a good thing. It's not. He's come to collect taxes. From everyone. Including you. You explain you have no coin, no livestock, no land. He smiles, the kind of smile that precedes very bad things, and says, "Then you can pay in service." Next thing you know, you're herding pigs for a man who only grunts. Literally. He doesn't speak. Just grunts. The pigs are smarter. One bites your leg. No one helps. You wander back toward the village, limping. A child throws mud at you. Another tries to sell you magic herbs that look like dried grass. You buy them. Just in case. You stop by the healer's hut. It smells like mold and despair. The healer is 40 but looks 80. She offers to rub goose fat on your leg. You accept. You instantly regret it. Later that day, you're told you must attend church. Skipping it would raise suspicion. The sermon is in Latin. It lasts 2 hours. You understand nothing except the general vibe. You are sinful and it's your fault. Afterward, people line up to be blessed. You try to stand in the back unnoticed. A man behind you coughs, wet and deep. Another scratches furiously at his scalp. A baby cries. No one knows who it belongs to. You're starting to smell like the rest of them. At sunset, you're asked to help with a rat burning. It's exactly what it sounds like. You decline. This makes people stare. You say you're tired. They don't care. Tiredness is not a valid excuse in a world where everyone is always tired and still digging trenches. That night, you hide in a granary. It's dry. It smells like oats. You almost relax, until you realize the rats are not dead. They're just hiding. And they don't want company. You sleep in fits. You dream of showers. Pizza. Silence. You don't get any of them. Day 4. You know you won't survive it. But maybe, just maybe, if you stay very still, very quiet, and pretend to be a sack of potatoes, no one will find you. But someone always finds you. And someone will ask, "Can you read?" You answer yes. That was your final mistake. The moment you admit you can read, the crowd goes quiet. Reading is a skill reserved for monks, scribes, and the deeply suspicious. They look at you like you just announced you could speak to demons. Or worse, calculate taxes. Someone whispers, "Sorcerer." Another, Spy. The village priest is summoned. He eyes you with both fear and opportunity. Your march, not invited, to the church, a cold stone building that smells of wax, mildew, and judgment. Inside, the priest demands you prove yourself. You're handed a scroll in Latin. You read it slowly, sounding out the words. He raises his eyebrows. Mistake number 2. You're then told that your gift must be used in service of the church. You're not given a choice. You are, as of this moment, the new scriptorium apprentice. It sounds noble. It is not. You are locked in a cold room with 6 other scribes. You sit on a wooden stool that feels like punishment. Your task? Copying the same prayer over and over. The ink smells like rotten eggs. The quill splinters. Your fingers cramp. You copy one line. Domini miserere nobis. Domini miserere nobis. Domini miserere nobis. Over and over. For 8 hours. If your handwriting slips, a blot, a smear, a lazy serif, you are hit with a stick. The monk in charge has one job and he takes it very seriously. You make 3 mistakes before lunch. You don't make more. Lunch is a bowl of thin broth. It contains 1 carrot, 3 peas, and a chunk of something that might once have been meat. No salt. No bread. No joy. Your only comfort is a single candle. You guard it like treasure. It's the only warmth you have. At night, you are taken to the monk's dormitory. You are given a robe. It's itchy. You are given a prayer to recite. It's long. You are told to sleep, but the snoring begins immediately, a choir of nasal suffering. You lie there, thinking about all the ways this could get worse. Then you hear. Tomorrow, you begin copying the Book of Lamentations. How appropriate. You close your eyes. Not because you're tired, though you are, but because seeing this world is becoming unbearable. You begin to pray. Not to survive, but to wake up. But the morning brings no such miracle. Just the creak of the dormitory door and the flat bark of Brother Aldrich. Up. God's work waits for no one. God's work, it turns out, involves an unforgiving amount of ink and silence. You are led to a different chamber, colder, darker, and filled with the scent of despair. A single lectern stands in the middle, a massive Bible open on its surface. The Book of Lamentations yawns at you like a mouth ready to swallow. You are handed a new quill. It's slightly less splintered. Progress? Brother Aldrich looms behind you. No errors, he says. The word is sacred. So is your suffering. You're not sure if that's doctrine or just his personal philosophy. You dip the quill. The ink this time is black as sin and twice as sticky. The first line cuts into the page like a wound. How lonely sits the city. Fitting. You're surrounded by people, yet you've never felt more alone. As the hours bleed by, your hand aches, but something inside you starts to shift. A word catches your eye, captive. Then another, desolate. They echo in your ribs. The book doesn't feel ancient. It feels immediate. You're not copying history. You're transcribing a mirror. At supper, Brother Anselm, the youngest scribe, barely older than you, leans close and whispers, "They say the bishop is coming next week. He's looking for someone who can translate Hebrew." You blink. "I can't read Hebrew." Anselm's eyes glint in the dim candlelight. "But you could learn. Hope is a dangerous thing. But you cling to it anyway." That night you hide a scrap of vellum under your robe. Not to steal, to practice. A single Hebrew letter, scratched faintly by moonlight, feels like rebellion or salvation. You begin to dream not of escape, but of power. Not power over others, but over the page, over knowledge, over yourself. They force you to serve the church. But maybe, just maybe, you can find a way to serve something greater. Even if it means learning in secret. Even if it means pretending to be meek while your mind sharpens like a blade. Even if it means waiting. Because now you're not praying to wake up. You're planning how to awaken. You awaken before the bell the next morning. Not out of piety. Out of necessity. In the quiet moments before the others stir, you sneak to the back of the scriptorium and pull the scrap of vellum from its hiding place beneath a loose stone. Your fingers are numb, but your mind is sharp. You trace the Hebrew letter again, Aleph, the first letter of the alphabet, the beginning of beginnings. It feels like a secret no one else knows you're keeping. The day proceeds like the last, ink pain, repetition. But now you listen differently. When Brother Aldrich mutters to himself, you listen for patterns. When the elder scribes discuss manuscripts, you make mental notes. You don't just hear, you study. You learn that the library, forbidden to apprentices, is open every second Thursday for inventory. That's 2 days from now. You mark it. That evening, Anselm slips you a folded bit of parchment. "Hide it well," he whispers. Inside, a chart of the Hebrew alphabet and 3 psalms in translation. Clumsy handwriting. Risky possession. You treasure it like gold. Each night you study by the guttering stub of your candle, cupping your hands around the flame like a conspirator. Your fingers ache from writing Latin all day, and now they ache from writing Hebrew by moonlight. But the pain feels holy, like building muscle you didn't know you had. On Thursday, when the library opens, you volunteer to carry the ink jars. Brother Aldrich narrows his eyes. "Volunteering, are you?" You nod. "God stirs me to serve." He snorts, but waves you on. The library is a tomb of parchment and leather, lit only by dust and stained glass. You catch your breath. So many books. So many voices trapped in silence. As the elder monks count volumes and mutter about rot, you drift toward a shelf labeled Linguarum Sacrarum. Sacred languages. There it is, a Hebrew-Latin primer. Old. Worn. Precious. You don't steal it. That would be noticed. You memorize the shelf it's on. You note which monk seems least observant. You calculate the weight of it in your hands. Later that night you tell Anselm, "I found what we need." His eyes light up. Then we begin. Days pass. Weeks. your Latin sharpens. Your Hebrew stumbles into shape. You and Anselm speak in hushed tones, inventing coded phrases. You steal minutes, not hours, a glance at a margin here, a whispered translation there. You begin to dream of something dangerous, a future. And then the bishop arrives. He enters the monastery like a storm of velvet and rings. The abbot bows so low it looks painful. The scribes straighten their backs and dip their quills in perfect unison. You do the same. The bishop speaks in smooth, practiced Latin. Which of these young minds is worthy of being shaped? Your heart races. This is it. Brother Aldrich nudges you forward. You step up. Knees locked. Mind screaming. You are handed a page of Hebrew. The bishop raises an eyebrow. Translate. The room holds its breath. You read the words. You understand them. But the true test is not what you say. It's what you choose to say. So you smile, bow your head, and begin. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. A psalm, a prayer, a message. The bishop listens, then nods slowly. He does not smile. But he says, "Pack your things. You're coming with me." You nod. You don't ask where. Because it doesn't matter. You're not a scribe anymore. You're a weapon wrapped in parchment. And you're just beginning to sharpen. The journey takes 3 days by carriage. You are not told where you're going. Only that it is a place of higher instruction. The bishop says little. You sit across from him in silence, the roads bumping beneath you like questions you're not allowed to ask. On the second night, camped beside a frostbitten stream, the bishop speaks. "You are clever," he says without looking at you. "Too clever for a village. Possibly too clever for the church." You wait. It doesn't feel like praise. "I have seen boys like you before. Hungry for knowledge. For power. Most burn out. Some burn others." He turns to you then, and in his eyes you see something more dangerous than judgment, calculation. "I'm bringing you to St. Galerius, a cloister within a cloister. Few enter, fewer leave. There you will study languages, history, theology, and if you survive, perhaps something more." "More?" you ask before you can stop yourself. He smiles thinly. "The church has enemies. Not all of them wear swords. St. Galerius is not a monastery. It is a fortress disguised as a school, hidden in the mountains, cloaked in fog. Its walls rise like cliffs, built not just to keep people out, but to keep certain knowledge in. Here, everything is studied. Not just the scriptures, but the texts banned from public view, Arabic treatises, Greek epics, Egyptian scrolls. Heresies, the bishop calls them. Untruths that reveal the truth. You are given a new robe. Black, not brown. You are given a new room. Solitary, not shared. You are also given a warning. There are 3 ways to leave St. Galerius. As a priest, as a corpse, or not at all. You study, feverishly. In the mornings, you translate Latin into Hebrew. In the afternoons, Greek into Latin. At night, you transcribe ciphers whose origins the masters do not explain. You learn to read between lines, to memorize quickly, to forget selectively. You also learn to lie. They teach it openly. The truth, says your instructor, a thin man with a voice like parchment, is a tool. Use it when needed. Bend it when not. Your letters home, such as you're allowed to write, are dictated and censored. You tell Anselm only that you are safe, that you are learning, that he must wait. You suspect he won't. Part of you hopes he doesn't. A year passes. You are called to the bishop's private study. He looks older, or maybe just wearier. A fire burns low in the hearth, casting long shadows. He hands you a letter. It's sealed with red wax. The seal bears a symbol you do not recognize, a serpent wrapped around a cross. This, he says, is your first assignment. Your stomach knots. Assignment? He smiles. The time for copying books is over. Now you will read one. You open the letter. It contains a name, a city, a list of questions, and at the bottom, observe, report, do not be seen. You look up. The bishop's expression is unreadable. You wanted more than ink and prayer. Congratulations. You're no longer a student. He leans in, voice like a confession. You are now the quill and the blade. You leave at dawn, alone, carrying only what you need. A robe, a journal, a false name, and the knowledge that somewhere, beyond this mission, beyond the lies, a truth waits. One worth bleeding for, or burning everything down to reach. The road to the city is long, but not unfamiliar. You've passed through a dozen towns like it in your studies. Dusty, layered in superstition, each house leaning slightly from the weight of its secrets. But this one feels different. Maybe it's the silence when you arrive. Maybe it's the name on the letter, Calvarin. A place not mentioned in maps, but referenced in whispers between scholars at St. Galerius. The letter told you to find a man named Father Emmerich. What it didn't tell you is that he's been missing for 2 weeks. You begin quietly. You visit the chapel first. It's empty, a strange thing for mid-morning Massachusetts. The altar is scorched, the crucifix above it blackened at the edges as if something had burned without flame. You find no priest, only an old woman sweeping ashes. When you ask about Father Emmerich, her lips tremble. He went into the hills, she says, looking for something that spoke Latin backwards. She refuses to say more. You make notes in your journal. Day 1, the priest is missing. The town is afraid. Something unnatural is stirring. Over the next few days, you piece together fragments. Children speak of shadows with no bodies, of voices under the floorboards, of animals going still at night, as if listening to something beneath the soil. You pretend to be a wandering monk. You bless homes. You ask quiet questions. You don't draw attention. But something else notices you. You find symbols carved into door frames, not Christian, older, You recognize one from a forbidden Greek codex, Phobostus glossus, the fear of the tongue. One night you wake in your rented room to find your journal moved. A page torn out. On the floor, a single word scrawled in black ink. Translate. You follow the trail Father Emmerich left. Into the hills. Into the caves above Calvarin. You bring nothing but a lantern, a knife, and your training. Inside the cave, you find writing on the walls, Latin, yes, but mixed with Aramaic, Hebrew, something older still. The sentences shift under your gaze. Some words are meant to be read aloud, others never spoken. You whisper the name carved deepest into the stone. Sepharim. The ground trembles. And you understand why the bishop sent you. This is no mission. It's a test. You don't run. You study the markings. You copy the glyphs. You follow the passage deeper, where the air grows too cold for breath. You find a stone altar. A bone, human, placed neatly at its center. Father Emmerich's rosary is wrapped around it. And next to it, scratched in blood, is a final sentence. He speaks the language of the beginning. Do not answer. Too late. You already have. When you return to the surface, your hair is damp with cave sweat and your eyes are wrong. Too open. Too knowing. You write your report to the bishop. You burn the original. You send only 3 words. It has spoken. You leave Calvarin that night. Not because your mission is over, but because it's just begun. You're not just the church's blade now. You are something older. Something the books warned of. You are the one who read what should not be read. And the words are still echoing. The echo doesn't fade. Not in the days that follow. Not in the weeks. It lives under your skin, a vibration, a subtle hum in your blood like a second pulse. At night you dream in languages you don't know. You wake with your mouth forming syllables not meant for speaking. You try to write them down. The ink burns through the page. You return to St. Galerius under cover of night, escorted by a courier who does not ask questions. When you arrive, you are not greeted. You are examined. 3 clerics in white robes usher you into a small, hexagonal chamber. No windows. 1 door. They call it the vestibule. You call it a cage. They ask you what you saw, what you heard, what you said. You lie. Not because you want to, but because the truth is contagious. Still, they seem unconvinced. One of them places a small reliquary before you, opens it, and you are nearly sick from the sound that leaks out. Not a noise exactly, more like the memory of screaming. You do not scream. You recite Psalm 91. They let you go. For now. The bishop does not summon you. That tells you enough. In his absence, it is the archivists who call on you. You are led into the lower levels of St. Galerius, past the map room, past the crypt of St. Aurelius, past the locked iron doors with no hinges. Here, the air tastes sold. You are handed a new assignment. This one does not involve a city, or a name, or a missing priest. This time, they give you a book, bound in lambskin, unmarked. No title. Inside, a script you've never seen. Curved like bone, looped like entrails. The shapes twitch at the edges of your vision. They say it's called the Codex Tenebris, the Book of Shadows. Your task is to translate it. No one has. Not in centuries. And those who tried? They don't teach anymore. At first, you approach the codex cautiously. Gloves. Charcoal rubbings. Diagrams. It resists. Pages turn the wrong way. Letters blur when copied. So you stop copying. You start listening. You realize the codex isn't just written in language. It is language, not spoken, not even thought, just known. You wake one morning and find that 3 pages have translated themselves in your mind. You didn't dream. You absorbed. You don't tell the archivists. You tell the codex. You begin changing. Subtly at first. You remember things you were never taught. You quote authors you've never read. Your hands, once blistered from writing, now move with inhuman steadiness. No ink blot. No wasted stroke. Anselm writes to you in secret. He's heard whispers. He's afraid for you. You burn the letter unread. You're beyond fear now. Beyond prayer. One night, while decoding a sigil on the 49th page, the room goes silent. Not quiet, silent. Even your heartbeat hesitates. The page turns on its own. Beneath it, scrawled in red ink not your own, you read, "You are ready." And beneath that, "The bishop was never your master." Your blood freezes. And yet you smile, because deep down, you've suspected this all along. The church didn't find you by chance. The book did. And now, it wants more than translation. It wants a voice. Yours. You close the codex. And for the first time, you do not feel like a scribe. You feel like a door. About to open. Not physically, not yet, but something within you bends like parchment over flame. The words from the Codex Tenebris are no longer foreign. They are familiar, comforting. They greet you like a long-lost tongue remembering itself. The next morning, you walk into the scriptorium and see it for what it truly is, not a sanctum of knowledge, but a cage made of ink and fear. The scribes look up when you enter. Their eyes linger too long. You realize they feel it too. The change. You no longer walk, you glide. You no longer blink, you watch. Brother Aldrich corners you near the library. "You've been reading it too long," he hisses. "Even your shadow's begun to curl." You tilt your head. "Do you fear me, brother?" He says nothing. But he takes a step back. That night you return to the codex. Page 77 is open, but you don't remember leaving it that way. The letters move slightly on the parchment, not like worms, but like things breathing. Inhale. Exhale. You read aloud. Not in Latin, not in Hebrew, but in the Codex's own tongue. You do not understand what you say, but something else does. The flame of your candle flickers sideways. The corners of the room stretch. The walls seem to lean in, like they want to listen. You hear a second voice join yours. Not echoing, harmonizing. It speaks from behind you. But when you turn, nothing is there. Just your own shadow, longer than it should be, now bent in a kneeling position. You don't sleep. Sleep is unnecessary now. Instead, you begin to write. Not transcriptions. Not translations. Scripture. New and terrible. Your hand moves without thought. The ink writes symbols no human hand has written in 1,000 years. Your quill does not scratch. It hisses. You write for 7 hours. When you stop, there are 33 pages, each filled with names. You don't recognize them, but you know they are watching you and waiting. The next morning, the bishop returns. He enters St. Galerius flanked by 2 paladins, tall, silent figures in robes stitched with gold thread and iron symbols. You are summoned, not to the hall, to the crypt. There, beneath the monastery, amid old bones and dust-choked relics, the bishop speaks plainly. We've seen your progress. More than we expected. Faster than we hoped. You study his eyes. There is fear behind them. Controlled but present. He continues, you have a choice. That word, choice, is a lie. But you let him finish. You may ascend, he says. Join the Vigilantes. Become one of us. A watcher. A keeper. A guardian of the gate. You ask, and the other option? He does not answer. Instead, he gestures to a nearby door. Heavy. Iron-bound. Unlocked. You may enter. Finish what you've begun. You already know what's behind it. Not a place. A presence. The one the book serves. The one that has been calling you. You look at the bishop. You look at the door. And for the first time, you speak your own truth. I was never meant to guard the gate. I was meant to open it. Then, without permission, you walk through, and the world begins to change. The chamber seals behind you, not with a slam, not even with a sound. It simply forgets how to open. You are alone, but not unloved. The codex on the altar begins to hum, low, guttural, almost like a chant uttered through stone. Not song, not speech. Summoning. You kneel before it, not out of reverence, but because your legs will no longer hold you. The air thickens. Not hot, not cold, just dense. Every breath feels like you're swallowing ink. Words bloom behind your eyes. Symbols dance across your skin. You feel the change begin. It starts with your fingers. The bones stretch, not grotesquely, but precisely, like a tool being reshaped for finer work. Your pupils narrow to pinpricks, then widen until your entire eye is black. You see everything, not metaphorically. Everything. The codex opens on its own. Pages flip so quickly they blur. The book stops on a page you've never seen, one not written in ink, but blood. Fresh. Still wet. The letters rise off the parchment and hang in the air like smoke. They form one word. Name. Not yours. Not yet. You understand. You must choose one. One that does not belong to the world you've left behind. One that will echo forever. You speak it, and the codex accepts. The altar responds, splits down the middle. Beneath it, a stairwell, spiraling downward into a well of shifting dark. At the bottom lies the origin, the reason the book exists, the being it speaks for. You descend. Every step is a prayer. Every prayer is a key. Every key unlocks something in you. At the final step, there is no floor, only a ledge, and beyond it, the thing that waits. It is not shape, not light, not void. It is presence. You do not see it. You are seen by it. And then you hear it. You are the first in centuries to speak, not mimic, not recite, but speak. Your mouth opens. No words come, because it is no longer you speaking. It is the book through you. And the door it always meant to open was never physical. It was you. The presence waits. Not hostile, not welcoming. It simply is, a vast consciousness folded into the very fabric of the monastery, older than stone, older than faith, older than memory. You stand on the edge of oblivion, feeling the weight of centuries pressing down like a tide. Every thought, every doubt, every fear you ever had is stripped away, dissolved into a pale mist. And then a voice. Not spoken, but felt, vibrating deep within your chest, echoing in your bones. You are no longer just a vessel. You are the gate, the voice, the living scripture. Your mind fractures and rebuilds itself in the same breath. You are no longer simply you. You are the sum of all the words, all the shadows, all the secrets the codex ever held. The knowledge seeps into you, flooding your veins like liquid starlight. Your skin tingles as ancient symbols bloom beneath it, inkless tattoos of power, shifting and pulsing with your heartbeat. They ride like living script, written in a language older than humankind, visible only to you and the presence. The cold iron door behind you is gone. The monastery above feels like a distant dream, a memory slipping through your fingers. You realize the truth. You have crossed the threshold of humanity. You are becoming something else. The presence envelopes you like a cloak of shadows and light, and you hear the final decree, not from lips but from within your very soul. The gate is open, but the world beyond is not for the faint-hearted. You carry the burden of Vox Aperti, the voice of the opened, the whisper in the silence. You feel your lungs fill, not with air, but with power. You rise. Your body moves with unnatural grace, like a conductor directing an invisible symphony of unseen forces. Your voice, once hesitant, trembling, now resonates with an otherworldly timbre, a sound that bends reality. A single word escapes your lips. Begin. The stairwell below you ignites in phosphorescent runes, illuminating an abyssal path that beckons. You understand this journey will lead you beyond the walls of St. Galerius, beyond mortal understanding, into the heart of the Codex's origin. And as you step forward into the unknown, one truth burns brighter than all the rest. You are no longer a scribe. You are no longer a prisoner. You are the living gate, the voice that cannot be silenced. The world above will tremble when you return, because when the gate opens, nothing is ever the same again. Minutes stretch into hours, hours into days, but inside the void, none of it matters. You move through layers of reality, each one thinner, more fragile than the last, like pages of a book barely held together. At the journey's end, a light pulses, not warm, not cold, just knowing. You step through it. You emerge back into St. Galerius, or what remains of it. The monastery lies in ruins, walls cracked and crumbled, stained glass shattered, the once gleaming altar blackened and cracked. The air is thick with the scent of ash and old dust, but beneath it, something new stirs. The monks are gone. The paladins vanished. Only the echoes of prayers remain, whispered like ghosts in the hollow halls. You walk through the wreckage. Your footsteps leave no mark, but the stones seem to remember your passage, humming softly beneath your feet. At the heart of the monastery, you find the courtyard, overgrown with weeds, twisted vines choking the once ordered gardens. There, in the center, the ancient gate stands. The gate you opened. It no longer looks like a barrier. It looks like a promise. You raise your hand. From your fingertips, words flow, not written, but sung in the air like threads of light. The gate shimmers. Shapes form within it, glimpses of worlds unknown, of realms both terrifying and beautiful. You realize your journey is just beginning. You are no longer bound by the narrow halls of the monastery. You are a bridge, a voice, a gatekeeper of everything and nothing. Behind you, the codex lies closed, silent. For now. Stepping through the shimmering threshold, the world around you fractures and reforms. No longer the stone and shadows of the monastery. Now you stand in a realm woven from memory and possibility. The sky shifts with colors that have no names. The air hums with the sound of forgotten songs. Ahead, shapes move, either fully formed nor entirely absent. They watch you with eyes that are not eyes, but windows to countless realities. A voice echoes, distant but clear. You have opened the way. Few have the will. Fewer still the courage. What will you become in this place, voice of the opened? You feel the weight of your choice. To become a guardian of thresholds, a keeper of balance, or something else entirely. Your name, your true name, whispered across the cosmic winds, carries power enough to reshape worlds. And yet, a flicker of doubt lingers. What if opening the gate is not salvation, but the beginning of something darker? Something waiting patiently for its moment. The codex pulses in your mind. Its ancient script now a part of you. A reminder. A warning. You take a breath, not of air, but of pure potential, and step forward. Because some doors, once opened, never truly close. The moment you cross the threshold, reality itself fractures, like a mirror cracked by unseen hands. Stone walls and shattered glass dissolve into nothingness, replaced by a vast expanse that feels both infinite and claustrophobic. like standing inside a breath caught between worlds. The sky above you is a roiling sea of impossible colors, deep violets that bleed into molten golds, shimmering greens that twist into liquid blues. No horizon exists here, only swirling currents of light and shadow that pulse with a rhythm older than time. Beneath your feet, the ground shifts and ripples like a surface of black glass, reflecting not your form but fragments of distant places and forgotten moments. You see fleeting images, a child's laugh echoing across a sunlit meadow, a dying star casting its final glow, a crumbling city swallowed by sand. They flicker and vanish before you can grasp them, teasing you with memories that may or may not be your own. Around you, shapes take form. They are either fully present nor absent, existing at the edge of perception like shadows caught between light and dark. Some are tall and slender, like figures carved from starlight, their faces smooth and featureless but filled with infinite knowledge. Others shimmer like mirages, bodies composed of shifting patterns of runes and symbols, eyes that pierce through you without blinking. They watch you silently, their presence both a welcome and a challenge. A voice rises, not spoken aloud, but felt deep within your mind, reverberating through every fiber of your being. You have crossed the threshold few dare to approach, voice of the opened. Few possess the will. Fewer still the courage to walk beyond the gate. What will you become in this realm of endless possibility? Guardian, destroyer, creator, or something yet unnamed? The weight of the question presses against your chest. You realize that the name you chose, the one the Codex accepted, is more than a label. It is a key, a beacon, a spark with the power to reshape reality itself. You feel the surge of power coursing through your veins, a tempest of ancient knowledge and raw creation pulsing in harmony with your heartbeat. Inkless tattoos of swirling symbols ride beneath your skin, glowing softly with the light of forgotten worlds. Your eyes, now completely black, see beyond the veil of this realm into the countless threads of fate and possibility. Every choice you have ever made, and every one yet to come, radiates outward like ripples on a boundless sea. Yet amid this overwhelming power, a flicker of doubt gnaws at the edges of your mind. What if opening the gate was not salvation, but the release of something ancient and terrible? Something that waited patiently through eons of silence. Something that hungered for freedom. The Codex pulses within you, a constant presence, a reminder, a warning. Its ancient script weaves itself into your thoughts, its voices whispering secrets no human mind was meant to hold. And beneath those whispers, a darker truth lingers. The gate does not merely connect worlds. It binds them. It locks something away. And now, because of you, the lock is undone. You inhale deeply, though there is no air here to fill your lungs. You breathe in potential, power, and peril. And with that breath, you take the first step forward. Because some doors, once opened, never truly close. And some voices, once heard, can never be silenced. As you step deeper into the shifting expanse, the air, if it can be called that, grows heavier. The light twists and dims, colors bleeding into dull shades of gray and shadow. The pulse of power within you quickens, warning you, you are approaching something. Ahead, the swirling currents coalesce into a vast figure, immense beyond measure, yet barely perceptible, like a shadow stretching across countless stars. It is the Watcher. The ancient being the Codex spoke of in riddles and half-truths. Not bound by form, not limited by space or time. It is the gate's origin, the reason it exists. And it has been waiting. You feel its gaze, not looking at you, but through you, dissecting, measuring, understanding. It speaks without sound, its presence filling your mind with 1,000 voices, layered and discordant. You who dare open what was sealed, who speak the words that bind and unbind. Do you comprehend the cost? The balance you threaten to shatter? Your thoughts ripple with doubt, but also with resolve. You have seen the weight of your choices. You have felt the power within. And yet you know, this is only the beginning. The Watcher extends a tendril of shadow, not to harm, but as a test. You grasp it with your hand, and instantly your consciousness expands. Visions flood you, civilizations risen and fallen, worlds devoured by darkness, light flickering on the brink of extinction. You see the fragile threads holding existence together, and the gaping wound your opening has left. But the Watcher also offers a choice. Become my voice, the gate's true keeper. Bind the realms together, or let them fall apart. The weight of the decision presses down on your soul. You understand now, this path is not just about opening or closing gates. It is about forging a new destiny. You take a breath that carries the echoes of eternity and speak your answer. Your voice carries the power of the Codex, the weight of the gate, and the will of your own soul. I will not be a prisoner of fear. I will not be a slave to silence. I choose to be the voice, the bridge, the beginning. The Watcher's presence shifts, not with anger, but with something like respect. And the realm trembles as your fate intertwines with the gates. You are no longer just a boy who could read. You are the Vox Aperti, the voice of the opened. And the story is just beginning. The realm around you shudders, folding in and out like a breath drawn and released. The Watcher's presence recedes slightly, but the echo of its gaze lingers, a silent reminder of the power you now bear. You are no longer just a scribe, or even a gatekeeper. You are the Vox Aperti, the voice of the opened. A title that carries weight heavier than any stone. With your newfound power comes a storm of visions. You see the countless realms connected by the gate, worlds fragile, broken, and whole. You witness threads of fate pulled taut, some fraying, others intertwined in patterns you barely comprehend. And through it all, a whisper. Balance must be maintained. Light and shadow. Creation and destruction. Silence and voice. The Codex, now a living part of your being, pulses with energy. Its pages shift constantly, revealing new knowledge, new warnings. You realize your role is not just to guard the gate, but to speak its truths, to be its voice in a world that fears the unknown. But the world above stirs. The monastery of St. Galerius lies in ruin, but news will spread. Whispers of a sorcerer, a spy, a gate opened where none should be. And forces will come, those who seek to control, to silence, or to destroy. You steel yourself? The path ahead is uncertain, fraught with danger, but also with possibility. For every gate opened is a chance for new beginnings. For every voice heard is a step toward change. You take your first steps back toward the shattered world above. The Vox Aperti is born. And the story, your story, continues. You emerge from the void, stepping onto cracked stones scattered with dust and broken dreams. The once mighty monastery is a ghost of itself, silent except for the whisper of the wind weaving through shattered arches. Above, the sky is heavy, dark clouds swirling as if the heavens themselves resist what you have done. But you are not alone. From the shadows, figures emerge. Clad in black robes stitched with silver sigils, their eyes gleam with cold purpose. They are the Inquisitors, zealots who serve a power older and more rigid than even the bishop. They have heard the rumors. The whisper of a voice breaking the silence. The scent of forbidden knowledge carried on the wind. Their leader steps forward, a woman with eyes sharp as daggers and a smile that does not reach her face. She speaks, her voice smooth but deadly. You have opened a gate that should have remained closed. You threaten the balance, the order. Surrender the codex, or be silenced. You feel the power of the Vox Aperti thrumming within you. The ink symbols along your skin flare with light. Your voice, once a trembling whisper, now carries the authority of worlds. You answer calmly, but with unyielding strength. The gate is open. The voice cannot be silenced. This is only the beginning. The Inquisitors move as one, shadows stretching, blades gleaming in the fading light. The battle for the future begins. The Inquisitors advance like a storm, disciplined, relentless, their silver-bladed weapons humming with ancient enchantments. You stand firm, feeling the runes beneath your skin flare, illuminating the darkening courtyard with a ghostly glow. Your voice rises, not in words, but in power, a vibration that ripples through the air, bending reality itself. With a gesture, tendrils of shadow and light erupt from your fingertips, weaving into barriers that shatter incoming strikes. The battle is not just physical, it is a clash of wills, of ancient magics and forbidden knowledge. Every movement you make writes a verse in the living codex within you. An Inquisitor lunges, sword crackling with energy. You counter, sending a pulse of sound that ripples through the air, a voice made weapon. The blade shatters. But the enemy is many. They press forward, relentless. You realize this is not a fight you can win alone. From the ruins, a figure emerges, cloaked in shadow, eyes glowing with an unnatural light. An ally? Or another threat? They speak, voice low and urgent. You've stirred forces beyond this world. You need help, if you want to survive. The battle rages. The gate remains open behind you, a swirling portal to the unknown. And your journey, far from over, deepens into legend. The stranger steps forward, their cloak blending with the shifting shadows like smoke caught on a breeze. Their eyes gleam, sharp, intelligent, and oddly familiar. You study them closely. There is a quiet strength, tempered by secrets too heavy for words. I am called Lysariel, they say softly. Once I was like you, bound by chains of ignorance, trapped beneath the weight of a world that feared knowledge. They pause, voice dropping to a whisper. I escaped. I learned to walk between worlds, to bend the gate's power without breaking. Behind you, the Inquisitors regroup, snarling in frustration. Their leader eyes Lysaria warily, fingers tightening on her sword. But for now, she holds her ground. Lysaria turns to you. You cannot face this alone. The gate's power is a living thing, a song that demands a chorus. Their gaze pierces you. Will you trust me? The weight of your burden presses down, but so does the flicker of hope. With a steady breath, you nod. Together, you face the gathering storm. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but also with possibility. The Vox Aperti is no longer alone. In the dim ruins of St. Galerius, you and Lysariel stand side by side. The air crackles with tension, the remnants of battle hanging like smoke. You feel the pulse of the Codex in your chest, steady and demanding. Lysariel lowers their hood, revealing a face marked by countless journeys. Faint scars tracing intricate patterns along their jawline, eyes that shimmer with the depth of stars. They extend a hand, fingers slender but strong. This is a pact, Lysariel says, voice low but resolute. A bond forged in shadow and light. You grasp their hand, and a surge of energy courses between you, a tether binding your fates. You will learn to master the gate's song, Lysariel continues, to weave its power not just with voice, but with will. They step closer, eyes locking with yours. But beware, those who seek to silence the Vox Aperti will stop at nothing. Outside, the Inquisitors regroup, their whispers like a gathering storm. But inside, something new has sparked, a fragile alliance, the first step toward a rebellion. You tighten your grip on the Codex. The journey ahead will test everything you are. But for the first time, you do not face it alone. Days blur into nights as Lysariel leads you deep into the shattered halls, now a sanctuary of shadow and whispered magic. The Codex pulses with a rhythm, a heartbeat woven into the very fabric of the gate. You must learn to hear it, Lysariel says, eyes gleaming with intensity. Not with your ears, but with your soul. You close your eyes, reaching inward. At first, there is only silence, heavy and oppressive. Then, beneath the stillness, a faint hum arises. It grows, weaving through your thoughts like a delicate thread of melody. The gate's song. Lysariel's voice guides you through exercises of breath and focus, shaping the vibrations into waves of power. You learn to send ripples through the realm, bending shadows, calling forth light, and even touching the strands of fate themselves. With each passing moment, your bond with the Codex deepens. You begin to understand. The gate is not just a barrier or a passage. It is a living entity, ancient and hungry, singing a song that must be heard and answered. But every lesson carries a warning. The Inquisitor's hunt grows more relentless. Their reach extends beyond the ruins, and the balance you strive to protect teeters on the edge of collapse. You open your eyes, determination blazing. The Vox Aperti is awakening, and the song of the gate is rising. The wind howls through the broken spires of St. Galerius as dusk falls, casting long shadows that crawl like living things. News has spread beyond the monastery. Whispers of the Vox Aperti. The gate opened against all warnings, reach ears both fearful and hungry. The inquisitors have not been idle. Their ranks swell with zealots and mercenaries, driven by fanatical devotion and dark promises. Their leader, the woman with dagger eyes, convenes in a chamber lit by flickering torchlight. Her voice is cold steel. The Vox Aperti defies order. The gate must be closed, or the world will unravel. We will strike at dawn. Leave no trace of defiance. Back in the ruins, you feel the tension coil like a serpent in your chest. Lysariel moves beside you, calm but alert. We must prepare, they say. Our strength grows, but theirs will not falter. You return to your training, pushing deeper into the gate's song. You learn to summon protective wards of shimmering sound, to weave illusions from whispers, and to strike with voices sharp as blades. Yet with every success, the weight of your destiny grows heavier. The night before the dawn assault, silence hangs thick. You stand before the gate, its swirling vortex humming with power. You know that what comes next will change everything. The Vox Aperti braces. The balance hangs by a thread. And the true battle is about to begin. The first light of dawn bleeds over the shattered walls of St. Galerius like a wound. The air is thick with tension, every breath a drumbeat in the silent symphony of war. From the horizon, the Inquisitors advance. A wave of steel and conviction, their banners snapping like thunder. You stand at the gate's edge, Lysariel at your side. The codex thrums in your hands, alive with ancient power. Your heart pounds, the psalm of the gate roaring louder within you. The battle erupts in a storm of light and shadow. Voices clash, yours weaving shields and blades of sound, theirs wielding relentless fury. Spells shatter stone and rip the air as both sides push to their limits. Amid the chaos, you glimpse your enemy's leader, eyes blazing with hatred and fear. She moves like a tempest, seeking to sever the connection between you and the gate. You raise your voice, a clarion call echoing through realms, and the codex responds, pulsing with radiant energy. The gate itself surges, sending ripples that knock back the attackers. But the battle is far from over. For every inquisitor fallen, another rises. And beyond the fray, the gate's song whispers of deeper dangers yet to come. You are the Vox Aperti, the voice of the opened. And this dawn is just the beginning of your legend. The battlefield falls silent, save for the distant echoes of clashing steel fading into memory. The Inquisitors retreat, broken but unbowed, their curses hanging in the cold morning air. Yet, beneath the victorious roar of the gate, a darker murmur stirs, a presence older and colder than any you have faced. The codex pulses wildly in your hands, pages fluttering like wings caught in a storm. Visions flood your mind, endless voids where shadows take form. Twisted realms where light dies before birth. Something has awakened beyond the gate's veil, an ancient hunger, patient and unyielding. Lysariel's eyes narrow. This is no mere enemy of flesh and blood. This is a force of oblivion, the darkness that the gate was built to contain. You realize your task is greater than you imagined. To protect the realms, You must not only master the gate's song, you must confront the void itself. You step forward, voice steady despite the weight of eternity pressing down. The gate is open. The voice will not be silenced, and I will stand against the darkness. The codex flares, light spilling like dawn over the shadowed horizon. The true battle for the future has only just begun. The ruins of St. Galerius feel colder now, shadows stretching longer as the weight of the coming storm settles over you. Lysariel moves beside you, a steady presence amid the rising chaos. Together, you delve deeper into the Codex, unearthing forgotten rites and ancient incantations, keys to bending the gate's song with greater mastery. You must learn to weave the light and shadow as one, Lysariel advises, tracing symbols in the air that shimmer and fade. The abyss feeds on fear and silence. Your voice must be a beacon. Days pass in relentless training. You call forth barriers of sound that shimmer like glass, sharp and unbreakable. You summon echoes that confuse and scatter your foes. And most daunting, you begin to glimpse your own voice split, a harmony of light and darkness within you, fragile yet powerful. Outside, the Inquisitors regroup, their threats growing bolder. But you know your true enemy waits beyond the gate, a hunger that threatens to unravel all. As night falls, you stand before the gate once more. The swirling vortex hums, alive with possibility and peril. Your voice rises, steady and unyielding. I am the Vox Aperti. I will guard the gate and face the abyss beyond. The path ahead is dark, but your voice is stronger than ever. The moment you step through the swirling veil of the gate, the world you knew falls away like dust scattered on the wind. Avoiding the familiar stone and shadow of St. Galerius, you find yourself plunged into an endless void, a place where time folds and reality warps. Around you, stars bleed into ink-black skies, constellations twisted into shapes your mind cannot fully grasp. Beneath your feet, the ground is an ever-shifting mosaic of cracked obsidian and gleaming crystals that hum with ancient energy. A cold wind stirs, whispering secrets in a language older than memory. Lysariel is at your side, eyes sharp and alert. This place is the threshold, they say quietly, where the gate's power touches the abyss itself. They gesture ahead, where a towering monolith rises, carved with symbols that pulse with both light and shadow. This is the nexus of voices. It holds the balance. If it falls, the abyss will spill forth into your world. You approach the monolith cautiously, feeling the hum of power resonate through your bones. The codex thrums violently, its pages flickering like a living flame. Suddenly, a shadow stirs within the darkness, a shape that moves with unnatural grace. It steps forward, revealing itself as a creature forged of swirling void and fractured light. Its eyes burn like dying stars. You are the Vox Aperti. It intones, voice like a chorus of whispers and thunder. You carry the gate's song, but do you truly understand its cost? You grip the codex tighter, feeling the harmony of your voice pulsing your veins. This gate was open to change the world, you say, voice steady despite the chill creeping up your spine. And I will not let the abyss consume it. The creature laughs, a sound both beautiful and terrible. Then let us see if your song can silence the void or become its herald. The ground trembles, the abyss stirs, and the true battle for the fate of all realms begins. The air thickens as the creature's presence unfurls, a swirling tempest of void and fractured light that seems to suck at the very essence of reality. Around you, the nexus of voices pulses violently, its carved runes flickering with unsteady energy, as if the monolith itself fears what is to come. You stand your ground, codex held tight, the psalm of the gate roaring like thunder inside you. The creature advances, its form shifting between solid and smoke, light and shadow, an impossible paradox made flesh. Its eyes lock onto yours, blazing with the cold certainty of oblivion. You carry a song born from hope, it says, voice echoing like a dirge. But hope is a fragile thing, easily broken. With a sudden motion, the creature strikes, tendrils of darkness lashing out, twisting the very air into razor-edged blades. You summon your voice, weaving a shield of shimmering sound that ripples outward, meeting the assault with a barrier forged from light and melody. The clash sends shockwaves through the void, the nexus trembling in response. Lysariel moves swiftly, chanting an incantation that weaves shadows into binding chains. They launch the spell, aiming to hold the creature in place. But the beast laughs, breaking free with a surge of chaotic energy that sends shards of obsidian flying. You realize this fight will test every ounce of your strength, not just your mastery of the gate's song, but the very core of your spirit. Drawing a deep breath, you channel the codex's power, feeling your voice split into harmonies, a dual force of light and darkness, creation and destruction. You sing. Your voice flows through the void, a tapestry of sound and power. The creature recoils, snarling as the melody cuts through its form like a blade of pure resonance. Each note you strike weaves barriers that mend the fraying runes of the nexus. Each verse drives back the shadows clawing at your mind. But the abyss is relentless. The creature shifts tactics, its voice rising into a cacophony of despair and madness, attempting to drown your song in waves of fear. Your grip tightens on the codex. You answer with a single, unyielding vow, a crescendo of sound that shatters the darkness and rekindles the light. A brilliant explosion of harmony erupts from the nexus. Light and shadow clash in a storm of energy so fierce it threatens to tear the void apart. When the echoes fade, the creature is broken, its form unraveling into motes of fading darkness. The nexus glows steady once more, balanced, humming with renewed strength. You fall to your knees, breath ragged but victorious. Lysariel stands beside you, a rare smile touching their lips. You have done what many thought impossible, they say. You have woven the gate's song into a weapon of hope. But as you rise, the codex pulses softly, a reminder that this victory is only the beginning. The gate remains open. The abyss waits. And the Vox Aperti's journey is far from over. The void's silence stretches long after the creature's collapse, a heavy stillness settling over the nexus of voices. Your knees press into the cracked obsidian, the cold seeping through your robes, grounding you in this fragile moment of victory. Around you, the swirling energies of the gate calm, their chaotic dance transforming into a gentle pulse, steady, resilient, alive. Lysario crouches beside you, eyes searching your face. There is strength in you few possess, they say, voice low but warm. But the gate's song is not just power. It is responsibility, a burden that will shape your every step. You nod, the weight of the codex heavy in your hands. It is more than a book now. It is a living legacy, entwined with your fate. Outside the void, the ruins of St. Galerius tremble faintly, a distant echo of your battle's resonance. Word will spread, alliances will form, and enemies will rally. The Inquisitors will not forget. They will return. But for now you have moments, rare and precious, to breathe, to prepare. Lysario steps forward, their cloak billowing in a phantom breeze. There is a world beyond these ruins, they say. Allies who hear the song of the gate, waiting in shadows. It's time to seek them. Your gaze lifts to the horizon, uncertain, vast, and beckoning. The path is uncharted, filled with danger and hope in equal measure. The Vox Aperti's journey is no longer confined to shadowed crypts and ancient ruins. It stretches beyond, into the unknown, into legend. You close the codex gently. With a steady breath you rise, and you step forward. The gate remains open, and so does your story. The ruins fade behind you as you and Lysario traverse the wild lands beyond St. Galerius. The world outside is vast and unfamiliar, stitched together with dense forests, forgotten villages, and ancient paths whispered about in half-forgotten tales. Lysario leads you to a hidden enclave nestled deep within a twisted thicket, a sanctuary cloaked in silence and shadow. Here, figures move with practiced grace, eyes gleaming with wary intelligence. The vigilantes are not just watchers, they are rebels, scholars, and warriors united by a shared secret. The gate's song must not fall silent. Among them is Melis, a sharp-eyed scout whose laughter cuts through tension like a blade. She steps forward, offering a hand. "You're the Vox Aperti," she says, voice edged with both respect and challenge. "We've heard the whispers and the screams. You exchange stories by flickering firelight, of battles fought, of shadows faced, and of the growing darkness waiting beyond the gate. Together you forge plans to strengthen the gate's defenses, to seek out ancient relics hidden in forgotten corners, and to prepare for the inevitable return of the Inquisitors. Yet beneath the resolve, a quiet fear lingers. The abyss is patient, and its hunger has not been sated. As you lie beneath the canopy of stars, the codex resting on your chest, you understand that your voice will need to grow stronger, not just in power, but in hope. Because this is no longer just a fight for survival. It is a fight for the soul of all worlds. Night draped the forest like a velvet curtain studded with countless shimmering stars, each a silent witness to the secrets whispered by the wind. The campfire crackled softly, sending flickers of golden light dancing across the dense thicket, where shadows stretched and writhed like restless spirits. The air was thick with a heady mix of earth and smoke, grounding you in the fragile peace of this moment. Before you lay the codex, no longer a mere book of parchment and ink but a living, breathing entity. Its pages shifted under your gaze, shimmering faintly with silvery runes that glowed softly in the firelight, as if the book itself pulsed with a heartbeat that matched your own. Lysariel stood quietly beside you, their dark eyes reflecting the dancing light of the Codex's mysteries. "It's time," they whispered, voice low and reverent, "to dive deeper. This codex contains more than spells and forgotten lore. It is the memory of the gate itself. It holds the origin of the song, and more importantly, the key to mastering the abyss." You traced your fingers lightly over the ancient script, feeling an odd chill blossom beneath your skin, a pulse of power reverberating through your veins. The words seemed to hum, as if alive, calling out in a language older than memory. Their melody wrapped around your soul, awakening something dormant, something immense. Days passed like moments and moments like days as you wrestled with the Codex's riddles. You struggled to weave together the duality at the heart of the gate's song, light and shadow, hope and despair. Opposites that should tear the song apart instead had to become one harmony. At times your voice fractured, trembling between strength and silence, threatened by fear and doubt. But then, in rare and brilliant moments, your song soared, pure and unyielding, a beacon in the dark that cut through the shadows like a blade of sunlight. One night, bathed in the pale glow of a silver moon, the Codex revealed a hidden passage, a constellation-etched map glowing with ethereal light. It pointed the way to a forgotten sanctuary known only as the echoes of the first gatekeepers, those legendary souls who first opened the Vox Aperti and bound the gate's song to the world. In that instant, you understood the journey you must undertake was not only to hold back the abyss but to understand the song within yourself, to become the true voice of the gate, the guardian who could both open and protect. Lysariel's voice broke the heavy silence. "Are you ready to take the next step? To leave safety behind and walk the path of truth and power?" You breathed deep, feeling the fierce determination rising inside like a tide ready to break. "I am," you said, voice steady, resonant with newfound strength. Around you, the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger, mystery, and the weight of destiny. But your voice would not falter. You closed the Codex gently, feeling its pulse echoing through your fingertips. The Vox Aperti's song was far from finished. Dawn breaks slow and gray, the forest around you still heavy with mist as you and Lysariel set out from the Enclave. Each step feels measured, deliberate, the weight of the Codex a constant reminder in your satchel, its subtle pulse like a heartbeat syncing with your own. The path ahead is tangled with thorn and root, winding through dense groves where the light barely touches the forest floor. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and moss, a smell both ancient and alive, as if the woods themselves breathe with memories long past. Lysariel moves with practiced ease, a shadow among shadows, their eyes scanning the darkened canopy for threats. You follow, your senses sharpened by the Codex's lingering magic, every rustle of leaf or distant bird call sending a shiver down your spine. As you push deeper into the wilderness, the world seems to shift. The air hums faintly with a resonance you feel more than hear, the echo of the gate's song calling you onward. The Codex grows warmer, its glow dim but steady, guiding you like a compass. The forest opens suddenly to a clearing. At its center stands a stone archway, weathered by centuries, entwined with twisted vines and faded runes. This is no ordinary ruin. It radiates power, heavy and almost sacred. Lysariel's voice cuts through the silence. This is the threshold of the echoes, they say. Beyond here lies the sanctuary where the first gatekeepers once walked. If the legends are true, their wisdom still lingers, waiting for one who can hear their song. You feel a pull, equal parts fear and yearning, tightening your chest. The path you have chosen is fraught with dangers, but turning back is no longer an option. You step forward beneath the arch. The air thickens, charged with unseen forces. A soft murmur rises all around, as if the forest itself is whispering secrets in a language you almost understand. Your breath catches. The codex vibrates in your pack. The journey has only just begun. Stepping beneath the ancient stone archway, a sudden stillness envelopes you. The forest chatter fades, replaced by a silence so profound it presses against your ears. The air feels thick, heavy with centuries of secrets and forgotten power. Before you lies a narrow passage carved into the earth, walls etched with runes that flicker faintly like dying stars. Each symbol hums with latent energy, a language older than time itself. Your fingers itch to touch them, but Lysariel's firm grip stops you. Not yet, they warn. This place tests more than courage. It probes the soul. You swallow the knot of unease in your throat and step forward. The path twists and dips, winding deeper into darkness. Flickering lights, either flame nor glowworm, drift alongside you, guiding your steps and casting eerie shadows. Suddenly, the tunnel opens into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. At its center floats a translucent figure, a gatekeeper's echo. Their form is both beautiful and terrifying, eyes like molten silver, voice like a chorus of distant bells. You who seek the song of the gate, they intone, must prove your voice is worthy. Only then will the truth be granted. A silence falls. Then the echo's hands rise, weaving an invisible melody that stirs the air. You feel the challenge seep into your bones, a test of will and harmony. To succeed, you must not only replicate the melody but infuse it with your own voice, your own truth. The codex's lessons echo in your mind. You close your eyes, searching the depths of your spirit. The notes rise, trembling at first, uncertain, but then steadier, weaving a tapestry of light and shadow, hope and fear, creation and destruction. The chamber vibrates in response. When the last note fades, the echo's gaze softens. You carry the song's legacy, it says. But this is only the beginning. The runes along the walls flare brighter, revealing new paths, new mysteries. Lysariel steps beside you, voice low but proud. Prepare yourself. The gate's voice will demand more, and the abyss listens. The chamber's silence lingers long after the gatekeeper's echo fades, leaving you standing beneath the ancient stone arches, your breath steady but heart pounding with newfound purpose. The codex glows faintly in your satchel, as if stirred by the power you just summoned. You turn to Lysariel, whose eyes shine with unspoken understanding. The song, it's alive, they say softly, Not just words on parchment, but a force, a voice that shapes reality. You nod, feeling the weight of responsibility settle deep within your chest. The power to open and guard the gate is no longer a distant promise. It is yours to wield, to master. But the abyss is not silent. Back in the shadowed forest near St. Galerius, whispers stir among the trees. Dark shapes shift beneath the canopy, creatures twisted by hunger and fear, drawn to the gate's awakening. The air thickens with their malice, a creeping shadow spreading like ink across the land. Inside the sanctuary, the runes on the walls pulse, revealing cryptic passages and hidden chambers. You study them, each symbol unlocking fragments of ancient knowledge, forgotten rites, harmonic sequences, and warnings etched in languages long lost. One phrase repeats itself, haunting and urgent. The voice that opens must also bind. Determined. You and Lisario prepare to delve deeper, knowing every step forward will awaken more than just the gate's power. It will draw you closer to the abyss's relentless hunger. As you gather your strength, the codex pulses stronger, its glow illuminating the shadows. The song is no longer just a weapon or a shield, it is a living promise. And you are its voice. The forest outside the sanctuary darkened further as twilight bled into night. Somewhere beyond the towering trees, unseen eyes watched your every move, shapes that slithered and prowled, hungry for the song that now thrummed within your veins. The abyss had begun to stir. Lisario's voice was low, tense. The shadows grow restless. They sense your awakening, the songs call. Soon they will come for you. You swallowed hard, feeling a cold knot of dread twist in your gut. The power to open the gate was awakening, but with it, a rising storm, a tide of darkness eager to consume and silence your voice. Inside you, something deeper shifted. The codex's glow seeped through your skin like liquid light, warming your blood, awakening senses that had long slept. You could feel the song, not just hear it or see it written, but feel its raw pulse, a living force entwined with your very soul. Closing your eyes, you reached inward, seeking the song's heart. Notes hummed in the dark, intertwining with your breath, your heartbeat. A single phrase echoed clear as crystal. To open is to become the gate. The realization struck like a thunderclap. You were no longer merely a bearer of the song. You were the gate itself, living, breathing, bound to the song's infinite cycle of creation and destruction. As the moon rose high, silver and sharp, a chill swept through the sanctuary. The runes on the walls pulsed wildly, casting long, quivering shadows. A new chapter awaited, the reckoning. The abyss was coming, and you would have to face it, not just as a reader or a guardian, but as the voice of the gate. The stillness shattered. From the shadows beyond the sanctuary's threshold, shapes materialized, twisted forms of darkness, their eyes burning with malice and hunger. The abyss's emissaries had come, drawn by the awakening song within you. You felt the codex pulse urgently against your side, as if urging you to stand firm. Lisario stepped beside you, drawing a slender blade etched with runes that shimmered faintly. Remember, they whispered, the song is your shield and your sword. Let it flow through you. The creatures snarled, advancing with unnatural speed, their forms flickering like smoke. You closed your eyes, tuning your breath to the rhythm of the gate's song. The melody rose within you, a haunting, powerful harmony that resonated through your bones. A wave of light burst from your hands, casting the dark shapes back, their forms unraveling like mist under the sun. Yet, for every shadow you banished, two more crept forward. The battle was relentless. You sang louder, weaving ancient phrases learned from the Codex, each note a thread in the tapestry of light that kept the abyss at bay. But the strain was immense. Your throat burned, and exhaustion tugged at your limbs. The abyss was not easily defeated. In the heart of the storm, you understood this was only the beginning. The song could open the gate, but it could also close it. And that balance would be your true trial. The echoes of battle faded, but the weight of the fight lingered like a heavy fog settling over your bones. Your voice, once strong and clear, now felt raw and fragile, every note a labor, every breath a scarce treasure. You sank to the cold stone floor of the sanctuary, the codex resting beside you, its glow dimmer but steady. The song hummed faintly, like a heartbeat slowing after exertion. Lysariel knelt beside you, eyes shadowed with concern. "You pushed too hard," they said quietly. "The gate's voice is powerful, but it demands balance. Too much too soon, and it will consume you." You swallowed the bitter truth. The power to open and guard the gate was no gift without cost. It was a burden, one you had yet to fully understand. A soft rustle echoed from the shadows. You looked up to see a figure stepping forward. Cloaked in midnight blue, face hidden beneath a hood. Their presence felt calm, almost comforting, like a steady anchor in the storm. "I sense your awakening," the stranger said, voice low and steady. "The song calls to me too." Lysariel's eyes narrowed, but you felt an inexplicable trust. This was no enemy. The stranger reached into their cloak and revealed a small, glowing shard, a fragment of an ancient crystal pulsing with faint light. "This," they explained, "is a shard of the first gatekeeper's heart. It can help you balance the song, temper its fury, and protect your spirit." You hesitated, then reached out, feeling the shard's warmth seep into your skin. The pain in your throat eased, the ache in your limbs lightened. The stranger smiled faintly. "But the shard's power comes with its own price. The path ahead will test your resolve like never before." The song within you pulsed stronger now, tempered by new hope and deeper understanding. The gate's voice was rising, and so was the storm. The stranger, who introduced themselves as Kaelin, became a silent guide in the days that followed, their presence steady and inscrutable. They led you through rituals and exercises designed not only to strengthen your voice but to protect your spirit from the corrosive pull of the abyss. Each morning, Kaelin taught you to attune your breath to the Codex's rhythm, to weave the song into a shield of light around your soul. At times, you sang until your throat burned, your voice raw but pure, echoing against the ancient stones of the sanctuary. "You must learn to command the song," Kaelin said softly during one evening lesson, eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight. "But never let it command you." Despite the progress, a shadow lingered within you, a whispering temptation born from the abyss itself. It seeped into your dreams, coaxing you with promises of limitless power, urging you to surrender your will and unleash the song's full fury without restraint. Each time you resisted, the song inside you pulsed stronger, but so did the ache, a gnawing hunger that gnawed at your resolve. Kaylin watched these struggles with a solemn gaze. The abyss seeks to consume not just your voice, but your soul, they warned. You walk a razor's edge, and the cost of failure is eternal silence. One night, as moonlight spilled across the ancient stones, Kaylin revealed more of the shard's secret. It is a fragment of the first gatekeeper's heart, they explained. But that heart was fractured by betrayal and sacrifice. The shard carries their hope and their pain. It will bind you, but also test you. Your fingers brush the glowing shard tucked close to your chest, warmth radiating through your skin. Are you ready to face what lies ahead? Kaylin asked. You nodded, heart pounding. The path was perilous, but the gate's voice was rising, and so was your own.